to your computer, so too your true self and being is not the mind. The light that allows the mind to function comes from the Purusha. The mind does not have any light of its own. Your sense of self-being, that you are a unique, whole and continuous center of awareness, derives from the inner consciousness, not from the mind. Then the mind and psychology. How we seek to heal the mind depends upon how we look at the mind. The yogic view of psychology, with its emphasis on consciousness, rather than mind as a real being, is also different. Psychology belongs to the mind, and the mind can have psychological diseases and imbalances, just as the body can have physical diseases and imbalances. A person's psychology reflects the condition of their mind, its tendencies and qualities. The mind always has a psychology because it is a product of time and outer experiences which leave their characteristics marks upon it. They are classified in Ayurveda and yogic psychology according to the gunas: Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, dosas, Vata, Pitta and Kapha, the 5 elements and the other energetic factors. Our true self or Purusha, however, does not have a psychology because it is unconditioned consciousness, the witness outside of time and the mind. It is beyond all form of qualities. While the mind has mental activity, the inner being consists of pure unmodified awareness only, like a mirror. This means that if we can go deeply into our awareness, to our inner being and light of consciousness, we can move beyond all psychological suffering. The ultimate yogic solution to the psychological problems is to raise our awareness to the inner consciousness beyond the mind and its dualities. Though many outer factors of diet, behavior, the breath and the senses can help, it ultimately requires a revolution in our awareness itself, from a mind-based consciousness to pure consciousness itself, from chitta to chit. The question of self-knowledge. In yoga, knowledge alone is said to bring about the liberation of consciousness. Specifically, self-knowledge, or the knowledge of our true nature in the Purusha, or the inner being. When we speak of self-knowledge for the personal mind, we are mainly referring to knowledge of one's personal history, habits, and inclinations. Self-knowledge for the inner being, however, consists of understanding the essence of awareness beyond thought and personal history. Though our thoughts are constantly changing, our inner being remains the same. True self-knowledge is a matter of being, not of thought or emotion. It is a state of being, not of events, experiences or ideas known. Our inner being has no conceptual content, nor is it conditioned by time and action. It is a state of openness, surrender and presence, like a steady thread through all our experiences. Conducting it brings us into a state of peace in which the mind and its psychology are naturally put to rest. To reach our inner being requires a different orientation of our consciousness a willingness to let go of our personal history and dive into the great unknown within. From the standpoint of the Purusha or true self, one could say that you cannot know yourself. There is no self or personal history to be known which could define you. From the standpoint of the true self, you can only be yourself. But in being yourself, you become one with all being. You come to know all things within yourself, in which the mind becomes but an instrument to be used at will or put to rest. Our inner being exists beyond time and space, birth and death, mind and body. Yet it is present within us as the ground of consciousness and present all around us as the ground of being. To truly know oneself is to know that inner being, which is the same in all. In that awareness, the mind becomes quiet and passive, and the personal self loses its relevance. In that inner reality, the mind loses its importance. This is just as when the sun is shining, one no longer notices the moon. The reality is self-evident. Nothing needs to be said, discussed, or argued about. And the reality is so vast, it can never be described. One merges into the experience only. Now we can see what is self-realization. The yogic dictum is I am that I am. I am that which is, that which was, and that which is will be. I am therefore I can think. Yet this I is neither me, nor you, nor anyone else. One could say that it is God, but it is not the God of any belief, theology or philosophy. It is the divine being that is the being of all. It is the self of existence, the self-being that is the ocean of which all creatures and all worlds are but waves. In that self is the resolution of all our problems, conflicts, stress, anxiety, and agitation. When one has gone home to one's true nature, there are no more issues left to resolve. Yoga defines its supreme goal of liberation as the realization of the inner self or Purusha. Knowing only the Purusha can go beyond death. One can go beyond death. There is no other path to transcendence. So, knowledge of the Purusha or inner being is the most important thing in life, not just a knowledge of our mental and emotional tendencies, however valuable these may be for dealing with psychological diseases. Unless we know our inner being, we cannot find lasting peace. Knowledge of our being depends upon being, not upon mental activity. The problem is that instead of seeking to know our inner being, we get caught in our outer becoming. We run after mental, emotional or physical self and lose the being self within. This process is samsara, or the turning of the wheel of sorrow. Usually we think of self-realization as the realization of our hidden personal potential, some special abilities or talents we might not have yet developed. However, yogic self-realization